ThinkTech on OC16, Hawaii's weekly newscast on things that matter to tech and to Hawaii. I'm your host, Jay Fidell.
And I'm your co-host, Duke Oishi.
In our show this time, we'll cover the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum's Clean Energy Day program at Laniakea.
The program was focused on bringing clean energy to transportation, something we haven't really done yet. We learned a lot about what's missing and how we can move forward on that part of the initiative.
And what a program it was. 180 people showed up to come together and find out what's happening and what's not happening in clean energy and clean energy transportation.
In the morning, we had a video from Governor Abercrombie, who was away in Taiwan, and reports from Senator Mike Gabbard, chair of the Senate Energy Committee, Mark Glick, the State Energy Administrator, Hermina Morita, chair of the Public Utilities Commission, and Ray Starling, program director for Hawaii Energy.
A sincere mahalo to all of you for rolling up your sleeves and working together with us at the Ledge to accomplish our goals. So I like the title of the panel this morning, What's Happening and What's Not. It's blunt, it's straight up, no BS vibe to it, so here goes. What's happening? The 2013 legislative session, C+. That's my grade. First, obviously, the big success with the green infrastructure financing that the governor mentioned. Kudos and mahalo to Mark Glick and also to Richard Lim with DBED and the other folks for coming up with this innovative, first-in-the-nation green infrastructure program that marries bond financing with on-bill repayment.
Through the Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative, our groundbreaking partnership with the state of Hawaii, the U.S. Department of Defense, Energy, the military, the private sector, we are transforming Hawaii's economy from one that is dependent on fossil fuels to a leader in renewable energy and energy efficiency in a single generation. Just to repeat, in Hawaii, by 2030, our ambitious plan is to reduce energy consumption by 30%, increase electrical generation from renewables to 40%, and reduce the use of petroleum for ground transportation by 70%. Now, our RPS and EEPS goals are worth repeating because these are the strongest in the nation. They still are. They were in 2008 and 2009, and they are today.
The PUC now oversees demand-side management programs through our third-party contractor, Hawaii Energy. We're setting up a reliability authority. We're setting up contracting and oversight for the program and finance administrators for the on-bill financing. We're playing a key role in the GEMS financing program, and we have oversight of our well-known renewable portfolio standards and energy efficiency portfolio standards. So the PUC no longer sits and resides just over rate cases, but it's also becoming one of the lead implementers in Hawaii's energy transformation.
Yesterday, as Jay had mentioned, the Public Utilities Commission issued 5 orders that have a direct effect on how we move forward with our renewable energy projects. The first order I want to talk about had to do with MECO, Maui Electric's proposal for 50 megawatts of firm, dispatchable, renewable, new generation on Maui. That that proceeding is closed, and the PUC reasoned that the adequacy of supply report filed by MECO and the IRP report that was filed by the HECO companies on June 28th, that's the Integrated Resource Planning report, indicated that there may not be need for those 50 megawatts of new generation.
We've completed our 4th successful year as Hawaii's first public benefits fee administrator, and we're very proud of that because there was some question about whether this was going to work, and I think it's worked certainly from our standpoint very well, and we have met our core energy goals, which was very important, but we've done it under budget every year, and we're very proud of that fact as well.
The first panel also featured reports from Ben Sullivan, Energy Coordinator for the County of Kauai, Rick Rochelo, Director of the Hawaii Natural Energy Institute, HNEI, Lauren Tanakawa from the Energy Program at the Pacific International Center for High Technology Research, that's PICTR, Robbie Executive Vice President of Hawaiian Electric Company, HECO, and Jim Kelly of Kauai Island Utility Cooperative, KIUC.
One thing that I think we struggle with on Kauai, and we look at tremendous progress. You know, in this context, KIUC has set this goal of 50% renewable energy by 2023. And they're going to hit it. They are doing incredibly well. And we've got this cooperative who is just going and going and going. But is it transformational, or is it right now in the front end or in the early going more project based? And can it be different? So that's something we're looking at and struggling with and trying to figure out how we can go beyond it being a utility sector issue and having it be a broader social issue. You know, how do we transform this system?
I'm going to talk about one thing, and it relates to some of the projects relate to stuff we've already heard today, and it certainly relates to the legislative session a little bit, and that's the Energy Systems Development Special Fund. It was part of the barrel tax established in 2010. Because of the fact that the fund itself was established earlier, we had a sunset. We worked hard in the legislature to try to get that extended, but we lost those funds in June of this year. So a few days ago, that fund was sunsetted. But we have a number of projects ongoing. And so what I want to do today, instead of going over the whole breadth of what we're trying to do at HNI, is focus on, since these are people's tax dollars, what we're doing with some of these funds. And again, this is even only a subset of that. The metrics report that Sharon referred to a few minutes ago is actually partly funded by this barrel tax.
We run the Energy Accelerator. So the accelerator is really intently focused on innovation in energy. So we know that we have a lot of awesome technologies here in Hawaii, so we're not trying to reinvent the energy innovation community, but we're trying to bring together its resources. So the feedback we received while developing this program and going through our first cohort is that yes, the grant funding is really important to advancing these startups toward commercial success, but the connections were really provided greater long-term value for these companies.
In the years 2007, 2008, at the urging of Bill Parks and Maurice Kaya, the state and Hawaiian Electric sat down to figure out how you could get the utility to commit itself to a clean energy future, which included the way that the utility was compensated and its major purposes. And that agreement did that, accomplished that. It was an agreement bounded by its time. So, for example, in 2008, the resource of choice had to be wind. At that point, solar was not what it is today, and so the document focused heavily on wind as a resource, for example. Because of the politics of the time, it did not mention geothermal. Since then, the politics on geothermal have substantially changed, and discussions today of renewable energy have to include a significant amount of geothermal.
We right now have the largest solar array in the state of Hawaii that's up and running. That's at Port Allen. Alexander and Baldwin runs that. We have a ton of residential solar that's going on, and we're right now in the process of seeing the construction of the new biomass facility that will be up and running by next year that will burn wood chips that are all harvested from locally grown trees. So by the time the next time around for this group, this is where we plan to be next year.
After lunch, we heard from well-known energy and transportation expert Todd Littman, director and founder of the Victoria Transport Policy Institute, an independent research organization in British Columbia that does policy analysis on clean energy transportation.
I'm going to try and pull together some of the issues that we heard this morning. I'm going to start with the most general concept, and that is, this really is a room full of do-gooders. Everybody in this room, I think, is trying to make the world a better place, or to describe it differently, to help create paradise on earth. Is that true? Are you a bunch of do-gooders? Yeah, okay, trying to create paradise. Well, there are two different visions of paradise. One vision says paradise is a place you go to. Now, Hawaii happens to be what a lot of people envision paradise. So we got a bunch of people coming here, thinking that if they can finally move to Hawaii, they'll finally be happy and everything will be right. The other vision of paradise is what you create in your own communities. It's not a place you go to, it's an improvement in where you are. And since you already are what most people think of as paradise, you're at the end of the road paradisially, it's up to you to make sure that you actually create paradise here.
There were 2 more panels in the afternoon. The first was moderated by Jeff Michelina of Blue Planet Foundation. It examined system infrastructure, the infrastructure we have and the infrastructure we need to develop clean energy transportation, elements like highways, vehicles, and fuels.
We have a great panel, portfolio of experts to kind of address the different aspects of sustainable mobility. And we're going to talk about each of them. We're going to talk about kind of where things stand today, what the biggest challenge they face in that sector is, and then talk about what type of sort of acupuncture is needed to move things along in each of that sector that they're looking at to address the sustainable mobility challenge.
40% of the energy pie, the energy expenditures in Hawaii, are electricity. 51% is transportation. So ask the question again, how are we doing with the 51%? Almost nothing currently. Less than half of 1% is renewable currently in terms of transportation. So that's a pretty big slice that we're not currently addressing. But the bar chart here gives us some hope. By 2020, this is what we could be seeing in terms of renewable energy. The dashed boxes indicate how much could be renewable by 2020 if the majority, not all, but if the majority of the renewable projects out there for transportation, a lot of these are biofuels projects, get completed. So we could have 9 to 10% renewable energy by 2020 if most of them get completed. 17% would be the upper bounds if every single one of those projects was completed.
I'm really focused on biodiesel. It's the only fuel that's being made in the state right now, and it is working. There's we've been doing it since 1996, so we started the game pretty early here in Hawaii, but the game has changed. We now have a lot more fuel, 5 times the amount of fuel we had last year. We've got an excellent quality fuel, surpasses everything in the world in biodiesel, made right here, and we're using a lot of different sources to produce this fuel in, which is why we can make a lot of it here. We can use waste grease, trap grease, tallow, animal fats, as well as the cooking oil. We're also building a crushing mill. This is in Ke'au on the Big Island. We have a crushing mill that's up right now. It'll be starting to crush oil crops in the next month here. So we're making oil from crops for the first time here in Hawaii.
We've seen dramatic increases of 700% growth in vehicles in Hawaii, electric vehicles, up to 1,287 last year. Hawaii is ranked 14th in the nation for adoption of these vehicles, but that's for total market share in the country. This is what vehicle manufacturers are focusing on. What we need to shift towards is the market adoption rate in Hawaii. We have 2.4%, which is much higher than anywhere else in the country. That means if they spent marketing dollars here, they would get a greater adoption rate.
Up at the top, I got a photo of a bus, and the bus has the bike carrier on the front. So right now, that's basically the multimodal transit system that we have in the city and county of Honolulu. And the expansion will be bus and rail. And one of the comments that we hear when we go out into the public a lot, and we actually hear from many people that are advocates of the bus transit community, is bus or rail. And that's the first mindset that we really try to change. We get people to understand that it's not bus or rail. We don't want people to take sides. It's bus and rail. And that's what makes a multimodal system work. And we spend a lot of time right now at the city and county of Honolulu talking about those intermodal connections, which means we're planning the connection between the many modes. And although I just put 2 up there, it's really a lot more than that.
I was so impressed this morning that the renewable energy goals are being reached and completed, and we are the world leader in that. And I want to say the same thing about active transportation. We can be the world leader. We have the climate, we have the culture, and we can do it. And part of the culture is going back to Kamehameha, because he said, the first law he proclaimed was, "E hele amoi I ka'ala." Come and be safe on the road, women, children, old and young.
Good to see a lot of you. again. I have placed an empty chair here, and I guess you know who could perhaps be sitting in it. However, I am not going to play the role of Clint Eastwood. Instead, what I would like to share with you is some feel for the fact that DOT is doing something, and they aren't here maybe because they always feel like they're getting beaten up. Maybe no one likes being in a position of being held accountable for things that they don't feel they have 100% control over. And so maybe we can use a little more sugar towards the DOT.
Additional walking, cycling, or public transit passenger mile can reduce 2 to 10 motor vehicle miles, because what you're doing is you're allowing those households to reduce their vehicle ownership. That's where you get the real payoff. And there are huge benefits. You're creating economic savings. For example, businesses don't have to provide as much parking. Households aren't spending as much on vehicle ownership, health benefits, safety benefits, all these benefits.
Then we had a panel on the people issues right down on the ground. It was moderated by Asia Yeri of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. This panel looked at our attitudes and behaviors and how they need to be awakened and changed to move clean energy transportation ahead.
We have a long way to go, but we are currently working together. And where are we now? We have roughly 10 billion vehicle miles traveled, per year in Hawaii, and 6.3 billion VMT per year on Oahu. So that is our current status of VMT. Under the Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative, we're hoping to reduce VMT significantly by 2030.
Just to give you an idea of where we fit in terms of the Department of Planning and Permitting is comprised of several divisions, including the permitting section that processes your rooftop PV permits and your solar PV farms. But on the planning side, which is the side that I'm on, we're responsible for the long-range planning. And part of that includes the special area plans that happens around stations, or what we call transit-oriented development plans.
DTS, Department of Transportation Services, is really coming a long way in terms of moving in a multimodal direction. And one of the things that allows us to really make great strides at this point and from now on is this Complete Streets ordinance, which the City Council was wise enough to pass and the Mayor signed into law in 2012. And this is a great tool. It is going to allow us to create a more accessible and multimodal city that actually will work for a lot of people.
We did a TDM plan in 2010, which gave us a lot of really good information about where we're at and where the opportunities are to make change. One of the things that we found is that a large portion of our faculty, staff, and students live within a 3-mile radius of campus. This is really, really encouraging because 3 miles is a very commutable distance.
There are celebrations here in Hawaii with Hawaii DOT, and they have what we think is the first statewide pedestrian plan in the country. So that's actually pretty darn good news. And take note of that, because it's not just the plan, but it comes with a toolbox on how to make it happen. And it's approachable by everybody from HBL with Chad and his group to, I want to say, Mike, you guys and what you're doing in your programs, and Breen as chairman that you guys can espouse through the city council and what have you.
Change is not easy. Change takes time, it takes effort. Change is often a struggle. But, as Mr. Darwin points out, it is often necessary. For 100 years, Americans have driven automobiles fed with fossil fuel at an ever-increasing rate. For many people, driving is pleasurable, which makes our challenge harder. If it feels good, I'm going to do it. For many more, it's compulsive, even habitual. How willing, how receptive is the general public to changing this behavior?
I am the director of Get Fit Kauai, which is the Nutrition and Physical Activity Coalition of Kauai County. We are funded by the Tobacco Settlement Funds under the Healthy Hawaiian Initiative for State Department of Health through a contract of the University of Hawaii at Manoa. We are charged with increasing access to healthy foods and increasing opportunities for physical activity.
Our product, the product that we're selling, which is multimodal transportation, is a terrific product. If you were a marketer and your job was to sell a lifestyle that involved less driving and more walking, cycling, and public transit, provided those products are high quality, I think you'd have a pretty good product to sell.
Beyond that, Clean Energy Day had a courtyard full of clean energy exhibitors. And their exhibits were interesting and, what can we say, full of energy. We also had a lunchtime presentation of a groundbreaking new mobile phone app, locally designed, that will help electric vehicles find charging stations, one that will be very useful in developing EVs in our state.
All in all, Clean Energy Day 2013 was a great program and revealed that we have already taken the low-hanging fruit. Now we are in a time when implementing our clean energy initiative has become more difficult and will require more effort by the players and by the public, especially in clean energy transportation.
But we're here to tell you that even with all of these challenges, the Clean Energy Initiative is alive and well and making notable progress. Hawaii is a clean energy laboratory and can and should be a national leader in smart energy planning. It was all there at the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum's 5th Clean Energy Day. We'll certainly be back next year for more. And now let's take a look at our ThinkTech calendar of events going forward.
Check out ThinkTech's 4 to 5 p.m. Drive Time radio series on KGU 760 AM for Energy on Wednesday, Asia on Thursday, and Tech on Friday. We also stream video and audio for all of our shows live on the internet 10 times a week at 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. every weekday. And we replay them all night long on Ustream.tv. Visit ThinkTechHawaii.com for our live stream and YouTube links. Raise your awareness on ThinkTech.
On Thursday, July 25th, the Hawaii Venture Capital Association and ThinkTech will present a luncheon program at the Plaza Club entitled Drones Over Hawaii, featuring a discussion of the technology, the legal considerations, the business opportunities, and the foreign policy implications of drones. The program will be moderated by Peter Crouch, Dean of the College of Engineering at UH Manoa, with a blue ribbon panel. You can sign up for these programs on hvca.org.
And now, here's Bill Spencer, President of the Hawaii Venture Capital Association, with this week's Spensation.
One of the things we've been talking about on a regular basis is blue startups. You're involved in that. You're helping them start up blue startups. So tell us, what's going on?
Well, as you know, we just graduated our first cohort, which was a class of 8 entrepreneurial teams, all of whom really went from A to Z and made tremendous progress and are getting a lot of traction. I think we'll see at least 1 home run out of that group, maybe 2. But the new program is starting up, and the deadline for application is the end of July, July 30th. So for any of you entrepreneurs out there who want to get involved in this program and take advantage of a really huge amount of mentoring and support, not to mention a little seed money to get you going, apply now, bluestartups.com. The program is 3 months long. It starts September 3rd, and it involves essentially 3 components. The first component is what we call direction. And this is where we really zero in, try to get the teams focused on really where they're headed with their idea. We follow the Lean Startups methodology, which encourages entrepreneurs to get a product out there quickly. You know, don't mess around, don't overthink it, just get it out there so you can zero in on what the customer wants, who the customer is. The second month is all about execution, basically the process of getting that product ready. And the third month, we focus on pitching, because ultimately at the end of the program, we have a pitch fest, and you get a chance to pitch in front of investors. And of course, as entrepreneurs raising money for your business, that's all you're going to be doing is pitching, pitching, pitching. So we give you a lot of hands-on attention and really coach you and get your pitching and public speaking skills up to speed. So it's a great program. I encourage all entrepreneurs that are on the ground here to apply. It doesn't hurt to apply, it doesn't cost anything. And who knows, you might get some startup acceleration.
I hope it goes well. You guys, talk to Bill.
We'll be right back to wrap up this week's edition of ThinkTech. But first, we want to thank our underwriters.
Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates MECO on Maui and Helco on the Big Island are deeply committed to the communities they serve.
Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company.
The High Tech Development Corporation, the state's leading technology agency, attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism.
Castle & Cook Hawaii, with a time-honored legacy that spans more than 160 years and revolves around its mission of investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state.
Hawaii Gas, formerly the Gas Company, a proponent of the Liquefied Natural Gas Initiative, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future.
Collateral Analytics, a Hawaii-based tech company empowering the real estate industry with greater and faster access to the tools and data they need to make better informed property investment decisions.
Okay, Duke, that wraps up this week's edition of ThinkTech. Remember, you can watch ThinkTech on OC16 several times every week. Can't get enough of it, just like Duke does. For additional times, check out OC16.tv.
Will do, Jay. For lots more ThinkTech videos and for underwriting and sponsorship opportunities on ThinkTech on OC16, visit thinktechhawaii.com. Be a sponsor or volunteer and help us reach Hawaii.
I'm Jay Fidell. Thanks so much for joining us on ThinkTech. You can watch this show throughout the week and tune in next Sunday evening for our next important weekly episode.
And I'm Duke Oishi. Aloha, everyone.
Okay, let's try that again.